Hello, I'm Rose. Welcome back to Ask a Violet Guide, where we answer your questions about issues which are worrying you in your role as a caregiver for a loved one who is in or nearing the last stage of life. This week we have a question from a carer who says, I worry that talking about death and what will happen will just make things worse. How does communication at the end of life really make things better? The subject of communication in this very important life stage is indeed really complex. And I think we should consider this issue over a number of these Ask a Violet Guide sessions. This week, we'll look at why generally we find it incredibly difficult to have these conversations when it involves our loved ones. So I'd like to begin this week with a quote from Dr. Michael Barbato, a palliative care physician, who says, "What dying people fear most is the loneliness that may accompany their dying, the inability to share their fears, anxieties and wishes, and to be honest about their life and death is often more painful than the thought of death itself. Dying is hard, but to die with all one's thoughts and emotions locked inside is tragic." Communication is a key theme in the discussions which our Violet Guides have with caregivers. It's the issue that often worries people the most when they understand that their loved one is in or nearing the last stage of life. How can we talk about this? We all know how incredibly hard it is to have these conversations about difficult subjects that rock us to the core. So let's think of the context in which the last stage of life may arise in terms of communication. We know that there are 160,000 deaths every year in Australia. Of those, 100,000 deaths are predictable, and by that we mean that there is some indication that the death is going to occur. So most of us will actually have some time, however small, to prepare for this event. If we think about the context, it may be that you are with a loved one in a doctor's surgery and you've just been told that the tests that your loved one has had indicate that they have a terminal illness from which they will die in the foreseeable future. The other scenario is that you may come to the realisation over a period of time that your elderly loved one is becoming more and more frail. This may be a conversation that you confirm with your loved one's GP or geriatrician in their clinical rooms. So what happens now? In both these situations, we're forced to come to terms with the fact that a person that we love is nearing the end of their life. We know that no one finds it easy to have these conversations. We don't know how to start them, and we're terrified of what might unfold. Family members and friends, as well as clinicians, might avoid the conversation. And it might be that we think, now just isn't the right time. The whole family needs to be here, so I won't start the conversation now. I just don't have time. I might unleash a whole lot of emotion that I know is just sitting there and I won't be able to stop crying. I might make them cry. I haven't got time, I'm really busy, I'm rushing off to something. Let's just wait and see what happens. Don't bring it up now. I'm not completely sure about what the doctor said, so I think we'll just leave the conversation until we go to see the doctor again. That's the best thing. I think they know they're dying, so there's no need to bring up that conversation just now. I'm not really sure what their religious beliefs are, so I don't really want to get into a difficult conversation right now that might take a long time. I don't want my loved one to think that I've given up hope. And from a clinician's point of view, I don't want the patient to think I'm just giving up on them. The family members seem to have very different opinions and understandings about what's happening, so I think I'll just leave that till the next visit and we'll talk about it then. So to conclude this week, talking about death and dying can be really difficult, but it can and does change the experience of end of life for all of those involved. And if we can find the courage and the wherewithal to do it, it's well worthwhile. Ira Byrock, another palliative care physician, says we need to have the opportunity to say 4 things at this time. And those are, please forgive me, I forgive you, thank you, and I love you. Next week, we'll talk about how exactly the end of life experience can be changed by honest and open communication. I'll leave you with a quote from the wonderful Jean Kitson, writer, comedian, and passionate advocate of palliative care, who says, "So let's talk about death. We will all know better what to do and how to say what we feel, and we will not, and others will not, go to a grave wearing an outfit or a lipstick that we wouldn't be seen dead in." See you again next week, and in the meantime, if you're caring for a loved one in the last stage of life and you need someone to talk to, contact our Violet Guides through the Violet website or phone 1-800-VIOLET. Great to talk with you again. See you next week.